Is that there's 4 stages of learning that people can be in terms of their effectiveness. On the one side, we have competency. When we say competence, what do you think we mean by that? What does competence mean if you're competent in your job?
A person that knows their job, can do well at it, can tell others, show others how to do it.
Right. So in strict terms, competency means you can do what's being asked of you, you can meet the expectations, you can perform the job task. And if you're really competent, hopefully you'd be able to teach other people. Although the ability to teach people and the ability to do a job well are not always connected, as we'll get on later in the course. On the consciousness level, so consciousness is the other dimension, is we say that, okay, so on the one hand we've got competence, on the other hand we've got consciousness. What does that mean when you hear the word consciousness?
You're aware of what you're doing?
You're aware of what you're doing or not doing, as the case may be. So what we're talking here is about both being good at what you do and being conscious about why you're good at what you do. And so in that case, we can find people that are in a number of different categories. The first category is called unconsciously incompetent. Now that doesn't sound very flattering if that was on your job description, you know. Good news, this past year you were unconscious and incompetent. That doesn't sound very flattering. And yet when you think about it, all of us have been in situations where we're unconsciously incompetent. That is, that we're not doing certain things, but we lack the awareness of what we're doing and not doing. So anytime you have a new employee who's starting, or you have somebody that's been promoted to a new job or moved to a new job, it's quite possible that that person will enter a period of unconscious incompetence. Right? For those of you who were promoted into a leadership role but didn't have really a lot of training or mentoring in that role, that became an issue, right? Because you didn't know all the things that you were going to be confronted with in your leadership role. And then you kind of learned as you went. Some of you probably had some fairly painful lessons as you learned that. And in fact, one of the lessons that you probably learned as you were exposed to the information is how to become consciously incompetent. So after being dumped in the deep end of the pool, for example, you'll learn to tread water long enough in order to figure out what it is you were going to have to learn how to do in order to be successful. So this conscious incompetence means that we are aware of the things that we don't do very well. For some of you, when I asked why you came to this course, you listed a number of reasons why you wanted to come to the training. And that way you were kind of conscious that in some of those areas you're lacking some of the skill sets, or you don't seem to be as effective as you'd like to be. And so what you want to do is become more effective in those areas that you've identified. Now the other thing that we may find, and for those of you who've been in leadership roles for a while, or you've been in your organization for quite a while, you know, you could find yourself in the unconsciously competent situation. That is, through the school of hard knocks, you've learned kind of what works for you, and you've learned what kind of doesn't work for you. And in that way, you've kind of formed some habits. And probably most of those habits are working for you. They're helping contribute to your success. There is a danger, though, in someone who is unconsciously competent. That is, they're doing a lot of the right things, but they lack the awareness in exactly what's working well and not well. What do you think one of the prime traps, or one of the things that can derail someone who is unconsciously competent? What can really throw that person off? What do you think? When something changes, right? So when we're dealing with it, when something changes, the business changes, the organizational needs change, the work group changes, often the unconscious competent person all of a sudden gets derailed or off the mark, but they can't realize what's happened to them. And so what our goal is in this course is to help you become consciously competent. That is, you're doing the things that a working leader needs to do to be effective. And you're conscious of those things so that when you have a new employee show up on the scene and they're motivated by something a little different, you know how to adjust your approach in order to get that person to buy in. Or all of a sudden an announcement comes down to you from senior management and you find yourself saying, well, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get my work group to buy into this? How can I support this even if I have my own misgivings? You'll be consciously competent about how you deliver those messages in terms of leadership by example. All right? So our goal is to help you become consciously competent in your leadership role. Because most of you will have to dedicate a portion of, or maybe a significant portion of your day to your leadership role in addition to actually doing the work. That's typically what working leaders face.